Welcome back to the channel. Today we will travel through the pages of What If Issei Awakened the Boosted Gear Early Part 8. The link to the story will be in the description below, and if you want an update of the current series, join the Discord. Now let's start. Chapter 30. Rias returns to the underworld. It's only been a week since Issei defeated the dark and twisted Ryu Tatsuo. The man who gained enjoyment putting the Red Dragon Emperor through torment and despair. Issei was put through agonizing pain both mentally and physically when he was forced to fight against both his friends and the woman he treasured the most. Ryu Tatsuo was a member of the old Satan faction, and he was gifted with a truly horrifying ability. Memory manipulation. Issei was brought to his knees through the twisted and terrifying psychological warfare he was forced to fight through, which also brought him close to death's door. However, thanks to the combined efforts of Kaneko, Akeno, Gasper and even the Demon Lord himself, Issei was able to face his fears and as a result, unlock a new ability whilst he protected the one he loves the most. Upon first inspection, it would have seemed that with Ryu Tatsuo destroyed and gone for good, the battle was finally over. Unfortunately, this was not the case. But the guilt of turning their own weapons on Issei overflowing inside them, Kiba, Asia, Zenobia and Rias were still feeling awful for their betrayal against him. Noticing this issue brewing in the peerage, the Demon Lord Surzich's Lucifer took action and decided to make renovations on Issei's humble little home, increasing its living capacity. Shortly after the changes were completed, the Demon Lord issued a direct order to the Grimoires who were still suffering. He ordered everyone in the Grimoire peerage to live under the same roof as Issei as a form of atonement. Where they would be able to help with the housework and just in general be close to Issei to make up for the isolation they put him through, in which they were unable to forgive themselves. Of course, Rias had already made no exceptions to her living arrangements and solely declared occupancy in Issei's bedroom and would not allow any objections whatsoever. After all, despite Issei's kind words, Rias was the one who felt the most responsible for Issei's sadness. The fact remained that she is the king of her peerage, and the noble girl could not help but feel completely responsible for such a huge division in her servants. She felt cold and numb whenever memories of Ryu Tatsuo invaded her sleep. How he used to carelessly touch her and in front of Issei to make it worse. She hated herself for letting another man take control of her mind, and she could not forgive herself for not listening to reason from both her best friend Akeno and her most treasured pawn. No, she just let Ryu string her along like a puppet and as a result bring Issei to the deepest levels of despair. But she promised to him on that night by the church in the rain to lead him away from. Rias wasn't optimistic that things wouldn't get better, and after the news she receives later today, she will soon believe this to be true. Rias POV cold and numb. Once again this feeling assaults me and makes me remember such an awful memory. I can't feel any of my limbs and my heart rate is beginning to drop. I try to cry out for help, but my voice doesn't come out. Suddenly a sound pounds against my eardrum causing me to panic. I try to turn my head but it won't budge. Suddenly arms begin to wrap around me and my first instinct is to hide. But wait, this isn't a constrictive hold. No, it's gentle and warm. I'm calming down, my heart rate is beginning to settle again. My body is beginning to feel warm. No, it's hot, confirming to me who it is. I suddenly collapse into his embrace when I hear his voice tickle my ear. Don't worry, you're my girl now, Miss Grimoire. Issei said, making me smile. Geez, don't sneak up on me like that. I said before I was forced to be quiet. Issei took me by surprise and pressed his lips against mine. I felt alive again. As if I had never been separated from him and we have been together all of this time. Good morning, Rias. Issei said to me with a beaming smile. I lay down onto his chest and snuggled up to his toned chest. Good morning, Issei. I said, feeling this was the place I felt most safe and comfortable. Issei climbed out of the bed and I tried to grab him before he could escape from the bed. But nonetheless I was too late. Hey Issei, I was thinking that seeing as it's the holidays, we could just stay in bed all day, just you and me. What do you say? I asked, wanting nothing more than to be close to him and keep him to myself. I would love to, Rias. But I have a very important appointment today that I can't possibly miss. He replied back to me as he began to dress himself. My worries increased when I saw what he was wearing for this appointment. Wow, looking sexy, my handsome Issei. Are you sure you can't miss this arrangement for me? I asked, still trying to get him to come back to bed. I'm sorry, Rias, this is something I can't afford to miss. He said to me, but something about his facial expression began to bother me. When he dismissed my invitation, he had such a huge smile on his face. What could be making him so happy to miss spending time with me, I thought whilst he finished getting dressed. As paranoid as I was about where he was going, I really couldn't take my eyes off him right now. Issei was wearing a smart ironed white shirt under a stylish black blaze, black trousers and a dazzling black tie to put on the finishing touch. Just as I was dwelling in my thoughts, Issei came over to me and placed his arm around my naked waist. And before I knew it, Issei was kissing me again. But this time the kiss held more passion and heat. He stroked my cheek and gazed into my eyes, and I looked into his. "I'll see you later, Riaz. Don't miss me too much," Issei said after he kissed me on the forehead. "There you go again asking the impossible. Hurry home, okay?" My words were honest because I would miss him so much that until he returns, I will feel incomplete. "As you command, President," Issei said in a teasing fashion and with a sincere bow. I could only wave goodbye to him as he disappeared in a magic circle. However, the minute Issei vanished, the feelings of worry and loneliness plagued my mind yet again. After getting dressed and meeting everyone downstairs for breakfast, I decided to try distract my mood with some food that had been kindly prepared by Kiba today in Issei's absence. "So you don't have any idea where Issei-kun has gone, President Riaz?" Kiba asked me, making my mind wander off again. "No, he just said that he had to make it because it was very important." I simply replied after taking a sip of my morning coffee. He must be very popular now, his reputation has been spread by Surziches," Okeno said, making me worried again. Where was he going dressed so smart? Was it a date with another girl? A marriage interview? Or is it an interview to join another peerage? Those thoughts crushed my heart and made my chest experience extreme agony. It just hit me. After all, how could he forgive me so easily after I betrayed him and almost killed him for that bastard who used his power on me? Of course he deserves better than me. After all, my resolve was so weak and I hurt him so badly. My thoughts were once again disturbed when a magic circle appeared at my ear. "Hello?" I responded, curious to who the caller may be. "Riaz. It's your father." "Father, what's the matter?" I replied, surprised of the sudden phone call. But for some reason, I was beginning to get a bad feeling. "You have another marriage interview today. It starts in 2 hours, so get yourself ready," my father said, making me immediately stand up, both shaking the table and startling the others. "What's the meaning of this, father?" "I already told you I love Issei and I want to marry the man I have chosen," I said, beginning to get emotional. "Riaz, I think you're forgetting your status. You are the heir of the Grimoires and you must attend a marriage interview for the future of the Devils. You are to return to the castle immediately for preparations." "But father," I pleaded, only to have my opinion completely cast aside. "No buts, Riaz. You will come here now and do your duty as a lady of the Grimoire household," my father shouted, that being the end of our conversation. Sweat poured down from my forehead and my anger began to soar. Why after Razor would my father do this again? It's not fair, I thought as I climbed back up the staircase to Issei's room. I crashed onto his bed and hugged the pillow which only 1 hour ago had his head planted against. My tears dropped onto his pillow. I was a complete mess. I decided to have a shower to help calm myself down and buy myself some time to think. After 20 minutes in the shower, my anger and sadness fell to the ground just like the water that dripped from my skin. I just realized after regaining my composure. I don't have to marry this man. I can just turn him down and then come home. With myself now calm, I decided to get this circus act over with and dressed in a crimson red dress. My hair was pinned up with a ruby dragon pin that Issei bought me on our last shopping trip. I no longer hesitated, feeling confident and brave. I created a magic circle and returned to the home I was born and raised in. As I walked towards the dining room to meet my mother, I couldn't help but wonder what Issei was doing right now, and also, how would he react if he knew I was doing this right now? I shook my head to dismiss my negative thoughts, feeling it would be best I addressed this problem with a clear head. Finally, at my destination, I opened the door and entered my grand dining room. "Aria's welcome home. Please join me," my mother said as I entered the room. I took a seat and was given a drink from one of the Grimoire house's servants. "So Riaz, are you ready to meet your next husband candidate?" my mother said, in which I replied with an irritated expression. "I have already decided the man I want to marry. Nobody else will be able to shine in comparison, no matter how perfect you think they are." To my surprise, my mother smiled after I so coldly answered her question. And before I knew it, we were on the move again. My mother didn't say another word to me when we reached the room I was to wait in to meet my so-called fiancé. "Wait in here, Riaz. He will be arriving shortly," my mother said, leaving me in the room with only my brother for company. What's the meaning of this, big brother? Surely you know my feelings towards Issei. So why are mother and father trying to take him away from me? I questioned, which once again led me to being puzzled when my brother smiled. "Why do you all keep smiling when I protest to marry no one except Issei?" I demanded to know because I was beginning to get angry. "Trust me, Riaz, we have all been talking and we have found the perfect candidate for you," Surziches said as I began to drink some of my coffee again. All of a sudden, there was a knock at the door which broke the silence and tension in the room. "Oh, and here he is now. You may come in," my brother said, making me tense up again. "Don't panic, just stick to your guns and say no. You don't have to marry anyone except Issei," I thought to myself, trying to calm my nerves. The moment of truth finally arrived when the door began to open. I lost my grip on my cup and as a result it smashed into the ground. No way, it can't be. I said, unable to believe my eyes. I said I would be seeing you later, Riaz. I couldn't believe my eyes right now. There he was once again standing in front of me. His shining smile and his sincere hazel eyes. I just wanted to hug my mother, father and my brother right now when I finally connected the dots together. He was standing there in the same clothes I last saw him in. I couldn't remain still any longer. I didn't care that I was wearing an attire that was difficult to run in. I just ran into his welcoming embrace and began to cry tears of joy. I told you this was a meeting I couldn't afford to miss, Riaz. He said to me, making me forget I had any previous pessimistic thoughts in my brain. So I take it you are satisfied with our choice of your potential husband, Riaz? Serziches asked me whilst I snuggled in Issei's muscular arms. I couldn't say anything else during this emotional moment except, yes. I let my worries drift away as my faith in my father's judgment was once again restored. It's just like my dream I had so long ago now. Except this time, it was true. This was really happening. Chapter 31 The Crimson Savior. Riaz embraced Issei tightly, showing no signs of releasing him. I just can't believe it. I'm so happy. Riaz said as she clung to Issei as if her life force depended solely on his warmth. I promised you that I would save you from an engagement you did not want, Riaz. At long last, I have been able to fulfill my promise to you. I'm sorry I kept this a secret from you. Issei replied, pulling her closer to his chest and stroking her hair. It's fine. I'm just so relieved it was you who came through that door, Issei. I love you so much. Riaz said, still refusing to separate from him. Geez, you dummy. Of course it was going to be me. You think after that bastard razor that I would let anyone else steal you away from me again? Issei said, making Riaz smile, her face showing true happiness and joy. It seems that you are getting along just fine with your new fiancé. Ariatan. Lord Grimmery said, making Riaz look over towards her mother and father. Father. Really? Then Riaz said, her voice being interrupted by an even larger sound. What was that explosion just now? Riaz said as the room began to shake and the voices of children screamed. This is bad. Riaz, it came from the Citri school. Issei said, quickly grabbing Riaz's hand and ran with her to the nearest exit. Riaz and Issei leaped into the sky and deployed their wings. Where did that explosion come from? Riaz said as she searched her surroundings. President over there. Issei shouted, indicating to the falling debris that was falling at a rapid pace. This is terrible. Issei, Milikas and other children are down there. Riaz shouted, seeing the students of the school in extreme danger. Leave it to me, Riaz. Drake, are you ready? Issei asked, waiting for his partner to respond. Ready when you are, partner. Alright, let's go. Balance break. Welsh dragon balance breaker. Issei rushed towards the scared children who still lacked the magic knowledge to defend themselves and picked up the pace when he saw that the wall was falling at an even quicker pace. It's no good, I'm going to have to go full throttle. Issei said as his jets began to ignite. The children shielded their eyes in fear as the debris was seconds away from crushing them. When all of a sudden, they felt the wind hit their faces at an extreme pace. Issei had been successful and managed to get them out of there in the nick of time. Balancing two on his wings whilst he carried the other two in his arms. The Red Dragon Emperor carried the children to safety, returning to his master's side. As soon as the children finally touched the ground again, a particular red-haired boy ran straight towards Riaz with tears in his eyes. Auntie Riaz. Milikas yelled, rushing into Riaz's arms. It's okay, Milikas, you're safe now. Riaz said as she comforted her nephew. Riaz, keep the children safe. It looks like we have got company. Issei said, now looking into the sky at a group of individuals. I understand. Please be careful, Issei. Riaz said as Issei prepared to take off. Of course. Well then, President, I'm off. Issei said, now taking off towards the intruders. Riaz's attention was diverted when she felt a tug on her sleeve. Hey Auntie Riaz, who was that just now? Milikas asked innocently. That Milikas is your soon-to-be Uncle Haidu, Issei. But he goes by another name as well. Recently he has been going by the name of the Crimson Dragon. Riaz said, brightening up all of the children's eyes who were listening so intently. Wow. He's like a superhero then. One of the children said, now staring at the man in the dragon armor. That's awesome, Milikas. Your uncle is a hero. I'm so jealous. Another child said, also amazed by Issei's heroic attire. Go Crimson Dragon. Don't lose to those losers. The last child said as he and all the rest watched him so closely. Meanwhile, Issei had finally reached his destination as he now stood on the ground directly below the group of vandals. Tell me, are you responsible for all this destruction that has been caused to the children's school? Issei inquired, giving off an intimidating aura. It's the security. This is bad. Master Shalba, we should retreat. One of the vandals said, referring to the obvious ringleader. Don't be ridiculous. Don't you even think about falling back. I will not let one inferior pest get in the way of our mission. Take their heir to the Grimoire's head and bring it to me. Kill Ria's Grimoire. Shalba Beelzebub ordered, mobilizing his troops into battle. Like hell I will let you hurt my fiancée. Just touch one hair on her head and I will crush you all. Issei summoned forth a powerful crimson light as he began to chant. I who is about to awaken am the Red Dragon Emperor who has discarded the principles of domination. I shall walk the road of righteousness by having infinite hopes and dreams. I shall become the king of Crimson Dragon. And I promise you all. I shall show the future which shines in true crimson light. Cardinal Crimson Promotion. Crimson Overdrive. Issei chanted, causing all of his gems to light up and his transformation to begin. You really think you stand a chance against us, the elite Securite? We are true Satans. And you are a mere lower class. Charge. Kill the Securite. Shalba said, making his previously hesitant troops charge the new challenger. Connecting to evil pieces. Armor release. Welsh Dragon Mode change. Sonic Boost Night. Change Star Sonic. Star Sonic Booster. Issei shouted with his armor reduced to the minimum amount, increasing his speed. Issei shot straight through the wall of old Satan members, reducing their numbers instantly with his godlike speed. Impossible. This power wasn't in our files on him. Shalba said, clearly surprised by 5 of his troops being taken out in seconds of the battle starting. It's useless, Shalba, you can't beat me now. Issei declared confidently, knowing full well how powerful this form was. Don't screw with me. You're just an inferior being. I am the true demon lord. Surround him. Don't let him live. Shalba Beelzebub ordered, showing obvious signs of intimidation with the tone he was using. Issei returned his armor back to its previous form, giving him back the armor he recently discarded, and then began to reduce even more of the enemy's forces. The Red Dragon Emperor didn't give his opponents any time to make a move. Within seconds he was right in front of them. I'm sorry guys, but I don't play nicely with terrorists. Issei said, taking 2 out in seconds. Issei took out the first intruder with a powerful punch to his stomach. The second shortly fell victim to Issei's deadly roundhouse kick, which took him by complete surprise. Damn you. The hooded figure said, drawing his sword, and attempted to strike Issei in his blind spot. Issei spun around, instantly parrying the swordsman blade with his own. You think your sinister sword is any match for my Ascalon? Issei shouted, using all of his force to smash his attacker's sword into pieces. Impossible was all the character could say before he was knocked unconscious by Issei's powerful axe kick. Take out the children and draw the heir out of hiding. The sub-commander ordered, greatly angering Issei. The cloaked rogue devils blasted all of their magic power towards the kids and the crimson-haired protector. Dragon Shell. Issei shouted, making an extra dragon-scaled skin to protect them all. The terrorists were baffled when they found out their combined powerful attack was being reflected right back at them. A small group were directly hit by their rebounded attack, which had been doubled in strength as a result of hitting Issei's dragon shield. But how? I was informed after you used this technique to shield your friends from Kakabiel's attack that once you use this technique that your balance breaker is disabled for 30 minutes, Shalba said, demanding to know Issei's secret. Looks like your information on me is really outdated. That was when my defensive technique was in a prototype state. Now I can use this technique up to 3 times a day without so much as breaking a sweat. Issei shouted back, which as a result began to frighten Shalba's reinforcements. He's a monster. One of them said, attempting to escape from Issei's terrifying speed. You're not going anywhere. Issei simply stated as he grabbed the coward's shoulder and then launched him at full force in the direction of his comrades. Using this sudden throw as a decoy, Issei's charging attack was not seen by those who were preparing to dodge their incoming teammate. Boost. 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 Dragon shot. Issei yelled, firing not 1 but 2 dragon shots from both of his fists at the 2 parties who avoided Issei's throw, which turned out to be a feint. The decoy was a success as the remainder of Shalba's forces now were being consumed by Issei's powerful Crimson Blast attacks. Shalba Beelzebub was beginning to panic and decided to chance it all on this next attack. If I can't take out the Securite, then I will just have to kill Ria's Grimoire instead. Shalba said as he descended towards Ria's like a missile. Die Ria's Grimoire. Shalba shouted as his hand was now being reinforced with magic power, turning it into a deadly weapon to try cut of her head. Shalba began to sweat and feel intense pain when Issei suddenly appeared and grabbed hold of his arm. You just had to do it, didn't you? You just had to piss me off even further. By daring to try take away the woman who is the most important and precious to me. Issei shouted using all of his power to punch the arrogant old Satan leader into the sky again. How dare you? How dare you lay a hand on me, you insect? I am the true ruler of the underworld. Yes, I am a true Satan. Now face the power of a true demon lord. Shalba Beelzebub said, increasing his power in a furious rage. This is the power of Office. The infinite dragon. Shalba stated as an amethyst infinity symbol fashioned like two snakes appeared on his palm. All of a sudden, a huge jade-colored magic circle surrounded Issei and began to summon forth an incredible amount of magic power. A power capable of harming even a devil with the power of a demon lord. This is the end, now perish Haidu Issei. Shalba shouted as the light began to close in on the Red Dragon Emperor. Divide. 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 Impossible. Divine dividing. The power of the white dragon, Shalba said, very shocked of this new discovery. Issei used the power of Albion to reduce the grand magic circle into nothingness. You want to see true power? Then I will show you the power I have obtained by protecting those important to me. Issei said, now once again being enveloped in a bright and powerful crimson light. Mode change. Welsh Dragon Cardinal Crimson Queen. Drake said as Issei's power continued to rise. Red dragon or white dragon, it doesn't matter. I will not allow you to get in the way of a true Satan. Die Haidu Issei. The old Satan leader said, now using his innate powers to unleash his greatest attack. Issei unleashed his two mighty cannons onto shoulders, fusing both the power of the bishop and queen together. Boost. 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 Take this. Shalba yelled, firing a huge blast at Issei. Welsh Dragon Bishop Blaster. Issei yelled back, firing his powerful Jade Blast attack right towards Shalba's own attack. You're nothing but a low-class devil. You can't defeat a true Satan. Shalba arrogantly declared during the blast battle. I may not be a demon lord or a high-class devil. But I will never let anyone. Gods, fallen angels or even devils, hurt my Rias or anyone I care about. Issei strongly shouted back, increasing his power even more. Damn it, I can't stop it. This is the end, Shalba Beelzebub. Issei yelled, increasing the strength in his blast even more. Boost. 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 Damn you. Red Dragon. White Dragon. Were Shalba's last words before he vanished inside Issei's superior ultimate attack. The children cheered for the Crimson Dragon when he emerged from the deadly blast battle unharmed. Way to go, Crimson Dragon. The Crimson Dragon is the greatest. All the children chanted as their hero came closer. Rias was the first to interact with Issei, rushing towards his welcoming embrace. Once she entered into his arms, Issei removed his helmet and took her by surprise with a passionate kiss. Rias welcomed Issei's feelings and kissed him back, putting one hand on his cheeks whilst Issei placed one around her waist. Meanwhile, Surziches was watching the whole thing behind the rubble. This gives me an idea. Surziches said with a massive grin. After an eventful time in the underworld, Issei and Rias returned back to the Haidu household. Akeno was the first to greet them as they walked through the door. Ah, hello Rias, Issei-kun. How was your day? Akeno asked, given the fact that both of these two were gone for the whole day. Welcome home, Issei-san. Asia said, suddenly hugging Issei. Hey Asia. You hungry? Issei said to the blonde-haired girl who seemed extra giddy now Issei was home. A little bit. But don't worry, Kiba is making something now. Asia said, making Issei smile. Oh, I see. I'll go see if he needs a hand. Issei said, stroking Asia's hair, and then walked towards the kitchen. So Rias, did your marriage interview go okay? Akeno said, making Rias have a huge smile on her face and reddened cheeks. You knew, didn't you? Ria said to Akeno, who was also smiling. Who knows? Akeno said with a grin. Issei walked through the living room and finally reached the kitchen. Kiba was in fact making dinner and preparing some side dishes as well. Hey Kiba. Issei said, getting the knight's attention. Oh Issei-kun, welcome back. Kiba replied, barely turning his head. That looks like a lot of food. Let me help you out, buddy. Issei said, reaching out towards the ingredients and the spatula. Suddenly, Kiba grabbed hold of the spatula just as Issei did. Kiba. Issei said to his friends, who was shaking as he held onto the utensil. Please, just let me do it myself. Kiba replied, looking down at the spatula, refusing to make eye contact. What are you saying, Kiba? We're friends, so let me help you. Issei said, still being insistent on helping him out. Issei-kun, I'm begging you, please just let me do this. This is the least I can do for you after the horrible things I did to you. As a knight I have no one else to blame but myself. Kiba said with a tear escaping his eye. Kiba. Issei said, clearly concerned for his friend. Now go relax, dinner will be ready soon. Kiba said, quickly wiping away a tear and putting on a fake smile to try make Issei leave. Issei tapped Kiba on the shoulder and put on his own smile. Then I'm counting on you, Kiba. Issei said as he left, feeling this was the best thing to do for now. Knowing it would be pointless and painful for Kiba if he pried. Kiba resumed his cooking after Issei left the room. What am I going to do? I'm so ashamed of myself. Kiba said, grabbing hold of his left arm that kept shaking. Chapter 32, A Blunt Sword. A knight's crushed spirit. Kiba Udo is currently standing alone in the new constructed training room built for the Haidu household. He is not moving a muscle. He is only staring. Gazing upon his materialized blade, daring not to swing it. Kiba, POV. The president tells me I am pushing myself too hard. That Issei isn't mad at me and I should stop worrying myself to death about what happened in the past. Everyone tries to pry the tools from my hands. Stating that I am letting what happened get to me too much. But this is the least I can do for Issei-kun. Whether it's something as simple as cleaning or cooking, I want to be useful. I want to help him. After all, one thing still remains a fact: I turned my blade on my best friend. I swore to him. With my pride as a knight that I would help him. That I would protect him. But did I fulfill my honor as a knight and keep that promise? No. I attacked him. I tried to kill him. My best friend. The others tell me not to worry. Issei-kun tells me that it was his fault for not being strong enough. But that's not the point. It was I. It was me who was so weak. So powerless. I let myself be controlled by that monster and I almost cut down the man who saved me. I'm afraid. I no longer trust my sword or my own power. Sometimes I feel like I hear my sword, or maybe it's my soul calling out to me. Kill him. This may be the after effect of the brainwashing and memory manipulation. But the fact still stands. I have to become stronger. If I ever want to fulfill my promise to Issei-kun to myself, then I will not fight alongside him until my sword and soul are clear again. My hands begin to shake as I tighten my grip around my blade. They're nervous. They hesitate to move forward, but I will press onward. I have to make the first step if I hope to get any stronger. I lift my arms and my sword high above my head. And with all the strength I can muster, I swung my sword with all of my might. The first slash was extremely heavy. Like my body was trying instead to prevent me from wielding such a dangerous weapon. In fear of who it may accidentally cut down. Sweat drips from my forehead as I swing my sword again and again. Cutting nothing but the air that surrounds me. Suddenly, the sweat falls into my eye and it begins to sting. But I did not stop my sword despite the pain. In fact, I welcomed it. I felt that this pain was what I deserved for my betrayal of Issei-kun. My legs are starting to match the rhythm of my sword once again. Slowly but surely, they start to move with my attacks I make. My body is starting to loosen up as if it was frozen solid for over 100 years. My speed is beginning to increase and the sword I swing is beginning to feel lighter again. My soul begins to shout as I strike the various training models in front of me. The anger in me begins to swell as I only see that bastard in front of me now. Ryu Tatsuo. I cry out with all of my strength as I begin to strike down each and every one of those models that I see as my greatest loathed enemy. Ryu Tatsuo. I yelled as I began to strike the remaining dummy. Suddenly, the sound of my sword colliding with metal echoed in the training room instead. My vision began to focus and suddenly my anger subsided as I looked into the hazel eyes of the girl who wielded the destructive holy sword. Zenobia. I simply said, feeling my rage leave me. Looks like you're doing some heavy-duty training, Kiba. Mind if I join in? I'm sure I will put up a much better fight than those motionless statues you just annihilated. Zenobia replied, but I could not accept her request. I'm sorry Zenobia, but I also want to get stronger. You're not the only who betrayed Issei. Zenobia screamed, interrupting me before I could refuse her offer. I'm sorry Zenobia, I didn't mean to. Stop apologizing. You and I are not going to be able to stand by Issei as his friends if we just keep moping around all of the time. We have to work together as the Knights of the Grimoires to get stronger so this kind of disaster never befalls Issei again." Zenobia replied, once again interrupting me. I suddenly felt myself smile at her words. As she felt the same pain and dishonor that I also shared. And as I gazed into her eyes of desperation and determination, I could not possibly refuse her assistance. "You're right. Let's both do our best to become knights worthy of protecting the Securitate Zenobia," I said, automatically, my body making a stance. "Now you're beginning to sound like a man, Kiba. But don't hold back. It's now or never," Zenobia said back to me as she too took a fighting pose. Zenobia and I charged at exactly the same time, our swords ready to fight by our sides for the first time in so long. Normal POV: the two knights of the Grimoire household met with their swords colliding in the middle. Kiba, realizing that his sword lacked the power to overpower Zenobia's Durandal in a close confrontation, decided to use his main advantage. His speed. Kiba broke out of the struggle on purpose and increased his speed and disappeared from Zenobia's sight. Zenobia closed her eyes and attempted to sense what direction Kiba would aim to strike her from. "I've got you," Zenobia stated as she swung her sword at what turned out to be nothing but air. "Behind you," Kiba shouted, managing to strike through Zenobia's guard and catch her by surprise. The sapphire-haired swordsman felt the full power of Kiba's slash, and as a result she was pushed back quite a distance. "It seems like your sword has a much sharper edge now, Kiba." "Very well then, here I come," Zenobia replied as she jumped into the air. Kiba gazed up at the ceiling in an attempt to anticipate when his opponent was going to descend. Zenobia suddenly dropped like a rock, slamming her Durandal into the floor, which caused Kiba to take a small step back. However, Zenobia expected Kiba to react this way. And in response, Zenobia launched a surprise attack by striking Kiba in the head with her skull-crushing power kick. Kiba managed to raise his sword to guard himself just in time. However, this didn't stop Zenobia's strike from hurting like hell. "As expected of my junior. Alright. I guess I will have to go all out as well," Kiba said, now summoning his balance breaker betrayer sword. Zenobia stared at Kiba's demonic and holy sword combo and smiled. "It looks like you're ready to fight again, then, Kiba. Alright. Then I won't disappoint you either, senior swordsman," Zenobia replied as she began to charge him this time. The two swordsmen began to meet each other strike for strike, both refusing to lose to the other's sword skills and power. If it wasn't for the super soundproofing of this escalated battlefield, then surely by now, the whole household would be awake and watching. Kiba and Zenobia yelled as their swords clashed together. Both fighting with all they had, so when the time came, that they would be able to face any danger and protect both their president and their dear friend. Sword birth. Burn to ashes and be frozen solid, Kiba declared, now wielding his fire and ice sword dual-wielding combo. Zenobia smirked, using all of her strength to smash his swords into smithereens. But she also couldn't help but feel a huge sense of deja vu when she attempted to do so. To the female swordsman's surprise, after Zenobia slashed his blades with all of her might, Kiba's weapons remained intact. In fact, Zenobia suddenly felt cold as the ice that she just tried to destroy began to climb up her sword in her hands. Zenobia grinned as she slammed Durandal against the floor to remove the ice. However, she wasn't expecting Kiba's second attack, and she was hit full force by Kiba's sword infused with flames. Zenobia began to pant, but still, her smile remained on her face. "You've certainly improved a lot, Kiba. Of course, I'm not the same blind fool who you fought in the past. This is my full power and I don't intend to lose to you," Kiba said, making Zenobia laugh. "That's true, you're not acting like a child trying to get his own way this time," Zenobia said, beginning to attack again. "Well, sorry for behaving like a child," Kiba replied with a matching expression as he parried against Zenobia's holy sword. Kiba and Zenobia kept their sparring up for a good hour before the match met its final conclusion. When both swordsmen collapsed to the ground in exhaustion. Both their magical power and muscles brought to their limit. "Geez, so who wins?" Zenobia said, being the first to break the silence. "Let's call it a draw, shall we?" Kiba said with a genuine smile. "Sounds good to me," Zenobia said, shaking Kiba's hand, which he just extended out to her. Kiba and Zenobia finally left the room feeling happy for the first time in ages. After a straining morning workout, Kiba and Zenobia both decided to relax their muscles by taking bath in the hot spring area located in the basement, feeling it was necessary to help them ease up in case a battle should occur. A few weeks later, Issei was putting on his jacket, preparing to head out. "A contract? Do you want me to go with you?" Ria said, feeling especially clingy and worried about Issei's safety recently. "That's okay, as I should be fine alone," Issei replied, kissing her on the forehead. "Even so, I would feel better if someone went with you this time. After all that's happened, I'm worried something will happen," Ria said, clinging onto Issei's arm. Issei grinned and pulled her into his chest. "Okay, I understand. I'll ask someone to come along with me. You hold down the fort until I get back, okay Riaz? Issei replied with his signature grin. Yes. Riaz said as she too wrapped her arms around him. After a few minutes, Issei stroked her hair and then kissed her on the cheek. I'll be going then. Have a safe trip. Riaz replied, unable to help but miss him already. Since the engagement between her and Issei came to fruition, her feelings for him have increased tenfold and she can't help but want to spend as much time with him as possible. Issei wondered who he should take with him for this little outing. But then caught sight of the blonde hair just about to head towards the training room. Kiba. I'm going out on a job. Do you want to come with? Issei inquired, making Kiba smile. Gladly, Issei-kun. Kiba replied, feeling useful towards his friend. Issei and Kiba departed shortly after and wandered the streets cloaked by shadows. The mission was over quite quickly as it was only a request from one of Issei's regular clients who simply just wanted to compete with Issei on his latest fighting video game. Issei stretched his arms over his head as they exited the house. Man, I'm starving. I hope Riaz and the girls have started preparing dinner. Issei said, breaking the silence of the alley. You're always hungry, aren't you, Issei-kun? Kiba replied with a chuckle. Hey, in case you forgot, I have the appetite of a dragon, right Drag? Issei said back with a smile. Yeah, that's right. Kiba and Drag replied together, making Issei and the knight laugh happily. Suddenly, Issei stopped in his tracks. Kiba, can you sense that? Issei said as he surveyed his surroundings. Yes, it's quite the ominous aura. And if I'm not mistaken, we're trapped in a powerful barrier. Oi Drag, what's going on? Issei said, only being answered back by the wind. Issei began to worry because of his inner dragon being unable to respond. The security ran a quick check on his sacred gear and concluded that he would only be able to draw Ascalon and use his boost power-up. Well, looks like the flies have become trapped in the web after all. A voice echoed in the shadows, causing the Gremory members to turn around. Who are you? Issei asked, now finding the source of the voice. A man dressed in black was accompanied by an army of swordsmen and a relatively small childlike character. But there was one thing Issei was sure of. They were all demons. Who are we? Of course, a low-class devil like you would have never heard of us before. We are members of the new faction of Cow's Brigade. Clippeth. And we are here for one reason only. To kill the security. The leader announced. Damn balance break. Issei said, but no change to his appearance happened at all. Ha. It's useless, Red Dragon Emperor. We found a way to disrupt the connection between a wielder and their dragon. Behold the sacred gear we personally manufactured. The leader said, pointing the child who held something that looked like an odd-looking speaker. With this device, the connection between you and that dragon is disrupted. Which means, you can't fight us with your balance break. Go, my soldiers. Bring me the security's head. The swordsmen began to charge the Gremory members with their swords drawn and ready for combat. Damn it. Kiba, here they come. Ascalon. Issei luckily managed to retrieve his dragon slayer blade, giving him a weapon to defend himself. Watch my back, Kiba. Issei said as he went to take on the first half of the assassins. Leave it to me, Issei-kun. Kiba said as he raced off in the opposite direction. Issei began to dispatch the soldiers one by one, realizing that they were not too tough to handle. But in reality, their sword skills were far superior to his own. Dragon shot. Issei managed to summon up enough magic power to blast a few of them. However, his magic power was greatly disturbed thanks to the enemy's disrupting device. Cut him down, men. The Red Dragon Emperor is no match for our numbers. The leader once again said as each solider got back up. Issei and Kiba had no problem dealing with the foot soldiers at all. However, soon they were going to discover that the leader wasn't going to go down so easily. With all of his troops failing their task, the big cheese decided to make an entrance. I feel there is no need to tell you my name. For in a matter of seconds, you will both be taking a permanent rest on the end of my swords. The mysterious demon said, revealing two huge demonic swords. That's not going to happen. Issei said, racing into battle whilst Kiba dealt with the remaining troops. Issei slashed down on his opponent, but his attack was unfortunately blocked by the giant-built man's sword guard. Weak. The demon said as he crushed his boot into Issei's gut. Issei grunted, feeling the powerful kick knock against his ribcage. Issei carried on his assault whilst sacred gear continuously boosted his power. Issei tried once again to strike his attacker, but once again, his attack was parried, and this time, Issei suffered a colossal punch to his head. Just as Issei was beginning to fall to the ground, he began to experience intense pain in his shoulders as both blades pierced through them. Ah! Issei roared, feeling the full force of the assassin's stab attack. Suddenly, the swords were ejected from Issei's skin, and Issei began to stagger. What's wrong with my body? Issei questioned, now feeling incredibly weak. Ah, so it's finally taking effect. My blades are coated in a poison which begins to paralyze the body of whoever I cut. Damn you. Issei said as he failed once again to summon his armor. Issei-kun. Kiba yelled when he saw Issei get stabbed in the abdomen. The brown-haired devil dropped to the ground, the paralysis now in full condition. Issei now lay there a prisoner to his death flag that had just arisen. Damn you. You're all in the way. Sword birth. Kiba shouted, piercing the bodies of those who denied him access to going to his friend. It's over, security. The man said, now slashing down towards the prone individual. Like I would let you. Kiba shouted as he parried the strike of the bastard who tried to kill Issei. You're in the way. Get lost. The enemy said as he attempted to cut down the blonde-haired knight. Kiba parried once again and then tried to strike. Kiba's eyes shot open when he saw himself be launched back by the huge demon's powerful counter-attack. Now stay over there. I will kill you shortly. The demon said, returning his sight towards Issei. I'm not done yet. Kiba said, getting back onto his feet. You still intend to resist? Very well, I will cut you down first. Kiba suddenly dematerialized his holy demonic sword and picked up Issei's discarded Ascalon. You think you can beat me without your balance break? Foolish low class. Know your place. The Cow's Brigade member said, now preparing to attack. Suddenly, that moment, an atmosphere different from the holy demonic sword emitted from Kiba, and he was suddenly wrapped with a holy aura. Several holy swords appeared from the earth, and at the same time strange-looking beings with armor on them began to form. The armored knight take the holy swords growing from the ground into their hands, and they gather around Kiba. It seems like the helmets of those armored things are based on a dragon. Impossible balance break. Your balance break is supposed to be the sword of betrayer. How can you use another balance break? You're right. During the Kakabial incident, I gained the factors to become a holy sword wielder from my former comrades. And I also received a sacred gear ability which lets me wield and create holy swords. But after that battle, I have been training with Issei-kun ever since in order to reach the next step. He came at me with all he had whilst I only used holy swords to defend myself. I admire Issei-kun. His kindness and his ability to protect those he cares about. I was saved by Issei-kun. So now I will protect him. Kiba said, making the dual wielder in front of him grow slightly nervous. Don't make me laugh, it's obviously a trick. It's no trick, this is my balance breaker's second form, Glory Dragon Trooper. Kiba said as he ready to charge with his troops. Kiba and the mysterious Cow's Brigade member charged at each other in an instant. Kiba and the demon exchange a single strike, causing the night troops to disappear. Afterwards a moment passed and the demon began to scream as he began to be submerged in light. Smoke came from his wounds due to the damage from the holy swords that pierced his flesh. Damn you, Gremory household. You won't be able to defeat the Clipeth faction. You will all fall from his power. You will all perish. Were the demon's last words before his body turned to ash. Kiba ran to his fallen friend and assessed his injuries. Issei-kun. Are you alright? Kiba asked, remembering the poison inside him. I'll be fine. After all, Riaz is very prepared for these situations. Issei said as he reached into his pockets and emptied out the phoenix tears on himself. But still, Kiba, you're amazing. The fact that you brought what you imagined to life and created another level for your balance breaker, that's incredible. You mean you knew what I was training to do? Kiba asked, clearly surprised. Of course. And I'm glad to have such a dependable comrade watching my back. Thanks, Kiba, I owe you one. Issei said, making Kiba smile as he helped his friend up. Now let's go home, Kiba. I don't know about you, but I'm starving. Issei said, beginning to walk home with Kiba walking alongside him. And it was at that moment that Kiba's doubts and hesitation slipped away. He did it. He protected Issei, and his sword finally came back to life. Chapter 33, Kaneko's Shadow. Release your power. Ever since Kiba saved Issei and himself from the sudden ambush by Clipeth, the brown-haired team could happily say that Kiba's confidence had been fully restored. The Red Dragon Emperor felt relief slowly flow out of his body as he soaked it in hot soothing water. Issei felt that things were finally beginning to return back to normal now. After all, slowly but surely his comrades were getting ready to battle by his side again. Many members of the Gremory household were hard at work honing and improving their skills for the next oncoming evil that is threatening both the human world and the underworld. Kiba and Zenobia are sparring together in order to get a better idea of how each other fought. This would give them both intel and experience, which would greatly assist them for when the moment arose that they would jump into battle back to back. Issei also caught glimpses of Akeno and Asia, improving their magic power and their stamina as to prevent their tanks emptying too quickly. Issei grinned as he remembered catching a glimpse of Asia, trying to increase the range of her healing power, and Akeno hard at work, changing the shape of her lightning attacks. Which, like Kiba's newest technique, resembled that of a dragon. Even the king herself was hard at work. Riaz was working on a new technique to further improve her arsenal of destructive magical attacks to combat against the threatening Clipeth group. It was at that moment when images of Riaz Gremory overran Issei's train of thought and monopolized his mind. Do your best. But I promise to you that I will also continue to grow stronger so I can protect you, Rias. Issei said with conviction and determination. Rias. Issei said again as he began to lean back further. Suddenly, Issei felt something soft behind his head as opposed to the hard tiles that were normally in the place he leaned back towards. Yes. A voice said, making Issei startled by the sudden intrusion in his head. Rias. Issei said, clearly startled by Ria's sudden arrival. You look like you were thinking quite deeply about something, Issei. Rias said to the boy who was currently leaning against her chest. Rias. Since when were you in here with me? Issei said as he tilted his head to look at her. I'm sorry, Issei, when I saw you head towards the bath, I couldn't help but want to join my cute little pawn and wash his back for him. Rias said as she wrapped her arms around his waist. No, it's not a problem, Rias. You just surprised me, that's all. You're certainly getting better at masking your presence. Issei said as he struggled to decipher how she managed to escape his senses. You're so mean, Issei. You've been spending so much time with everyone else that your cute fiancé has been very lonely. So I won't let you go anywhere. Rias said with a mischievous grin as she greedily held him tight. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, Rias. But I had to return everyone back to normal before I could happily face you alone. Issei said as Rias now held him close to herself. It's okay, Issei, I expected as much from you. But just remember, we all care about you. So please don't push yourself too hard. I understand, Rias. I promise to be careful. Issei said, feeling he could finally relax and enjoy his time with the Crimson Princess. Speaking of hard, you seem to be enjoying your time with me, Issei. Rias said as her hand trailed his abdomen line. That's because Issei went to say, but he was immediately silenced by Ria's lips on his own. It's okay, Issei, it makes me happy that you're always looking at me. Rias said as she attempted to tease him. Anyway, you came here to wash yourself. So let's get out. I'll wash your back for you. Rias said as she took his hand and led him to the stalls. Issei did as he was requested and left his back to Rias to attend to. Rias grinned with a face of lust as she pressed her bare soaked-up chest against Issei's back. Well, Issei. Does it feel good to have my breasts wash up against your back? Rias asked whilst her hands got to work on washing his chest. It's the best. I always welcome the opportunity that I am blessed with to see your beautiful form, Rias. Issei said, making Rias smile. But, I can tell there is something on your mind besides bathing, Rias. I've been found out, have I? Geez, Issei, you always see right through me. Rias said, clearly surprised by Issei's discovery. You know that you can always lean on me anytime, Rias. So tell me what's on your mind and I'll do whatever I can to help you. Issei said as Rias resumed washing him. Thank you, Issei. In that case, can I make a request? Is that okay? Rias said as she draped her arms around his neck and embraced him from behind. Of course, what do you need from me? Issei asked, having a hunch what this was going to be about. Somebody in my peerage has been feeling down lately and I'm worried how to cheer her up and how to help her. It's about Kaneko, isn't it? Issei, you knew. Yes. I noticed Kaneko has been down since the beginning of this week. But it's not just that, I can sense her innate fear of something. So you know about Kaneko's secret, Issei? Yes. I learned about it during the incident where all of your memories were manipulated by Ryu's sacred gear. You see, Ryu's sacred gear failed to work on hybrids and it was then that Akeno revealed to me that Kaneko was a Nekomata. Yes, and she has a sister who fully accepted the power and as a result became corrupted and evil. Kuroka. Issei, you know about Kaneko's sister? Yes. You see, after the battle ended, I went to the underworld and spoke to Surziches. And he told me all about Kaneko's past and how her older sister betrayed their master and murdered them. Yes, that's right. And ever since then, Kaneko has been suffering because she has been trying to suppress the Nekomata power and is trying to fight with her strength alone. Rias replied with a sad look on her face. Don't worry, Rias, I swear I will do something about this. Please just leave Kaneko-chan to me. Issei said as he turned to face her and looked her straight in the eyes. Thank you, Issei. Rias said as she suddenly relaxed into his toned chest. You know, I can't seem to remember a time when I didn't depend on you so much, Issei. Am I a selfish devil? Rias said, to which Issei responded with a smile. You be selfish and rely on me all you want. I'm your pawn after all. Issei said, suddenly kissing her on the lips and then pulled her close to himself. Geez, Issei, why did I have to go so many years without you? Rias said, feeling at peace in his arms. I feel the same way. But don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Issei said as he carried on embracing her. Well then, promise me this, Issei, once you have helped Kaneko, you will let me have you to myself for a whole day. Rias asked with hope in her eyes. I promise, Rias. Once this is settled, I will take you out on a date and I will give you all my time. Issei said as he left the bathhouse arm in arm with her. After Rias and Issei returned to his bedroom to discuss strategy and attack against Klupeth, suddenly Rias received a call. Big brother. What's wrong? Riaz suddenly said, making Issei stop his research. You want me and my peerage to return to the underworld for a leaders' summit? Okay, I understand. What? And Issei has to activate his Cardinal Crimson just as he enters the underworld. Riaz said, making Issei activate his sacred gear. I see, so Clippeth really could attack at any time. I understand, we'll make preparations to leave right away. Riaz said as she finally hung up the call. Issei. I'm ready whenever you are, President Riaz. Issei said with his sacred gear now on full display. As ordered by the Demon Lord, the Grimoires immediately rendezvoused in the living room and then from there transported through the front door of the underworld. Upon entry, Issei obeyed the Demon Lord's orders and began to chant. I, who is about to awaken, am the Red Dragon Emperor who has discarded the principles of domination. I shall walk the road of righteousness by having infinite hopes and dreams. I shall become the King of Crimson Dragon. And I promise you all. I shall show you the future which shines in true crimson light. Issei chanted, causing a huge beam of crimson light to shoot out of all the gems on his scale mail. No matter how many times I see it, it's still such an amazing increase in power, Kiba said with a smile and a face that no longer showed any sign of fear or hesitation. Issei senpai is so cool. Gasper said in awe of Issei's strongest armor. However, there was one person who secretly felt nervous and afraid when she felt that power emit from the Red Dragon Emperor. To the point where if she would not be afraid to have her tail out, it would at this moment be tucked between her legs in fear. It's okay, Issei senpai isn't like big sister. I'm sure he won't let the power consume him. Kaneko thought to herself as her feet struggled to press onward. Kaneko-chan, are you okay? A concerned bishop asked her as she stopped to see to the timid rook. I'm okay. But thank you, Asia senpai. Kaneko replied, trying her best to keep her emotions hidden. Come to think of it, Asia senpai has been very strong since the last battle we had. I expected her to be upset and hesitate to approach Issei senpai again. But it had the opposite effect. It gave her the push to further improve herself, and instead of pouting and feeling guilty, she asked the vice president to strengthen and improve her abilities. Meanwhile, I remain the same. I refuse to grow stronger. I can't afford to hurt my friends. Kaneko thought to herself as her and the Grimoires opened the doors to the underworld. But little did Issei know, Surziches was up to his old tricks again. Look. It's the Crimson Dragon. A little boy said, staring in awe at the armored devil who now walked in his direction. Amazing it really is. Said another child who abandoned his activity to gaze at the security who for some reason was well known. The Crimson Dragon is the greatest. Other children shouted, which on closer inspection, Issei realized were wearing hats with his balance breaker scale mail form on. Don't lose to anyone, Crimson Dragon. A little female devil piped in, catching sight of him as well. Hey Crimson Dragon, don't let the bad guys take Princess Riaz. Said another little girl when Riaz walked beside him. In fact, Issei noticed that most of the children were holding on to one item which seemed like merchandise of him. Some kids were wearing boosted gear gauntlets which turned out to be toys. Whereas, others were holding items like Securite drink bottles, t-shirts and even action figures which Issei couldn't help but feel embarrassed when he saw them. As he walked past, he heard the same action figures speaking in his own voice, saying catchphrases like boosted gear, I will protect Riaz, I won't forgive you and balance break. It seems like my older brother is up to his old tricks again. Riaz said, pointing Issei towards a poster of Issei's balance breaker armor above the words, watch the exciting adventures of the savior of the underworld and his crimson-haired princess on the big screen. Crimson Dragon Awakens. The path of the Securite. The other Grimoire members could tell Issei was embarrassed even with his helmet on as he stared at the movie poster. Issei pressed onwards, happily complying with children who asked for autographs and shook hands with any who asked for it. Until finally when he and the rest of the Grimoires reached the meeting room. Surziches greeted them with a huge grin on his face. Ah, welcome Crimson Dragon, the savior of the underworld. Surziches said as Issei entered. Ah geez, give me a break. Can I at least open my helmet now? Issei asked as he felt it was rude to have it equipped in the presence of Ajuka and the other leaders. Ah, don't be like that, Issei-kun, the children all love you. You're their hero. Surziches said, making Issei smile. A hero, huh? I didn't think I deserved that title. But it certainly sounds nicer than the fallen angel assassin Nightwing. Issei said with a smile. Riaz hugged his armored arm and apologized to him. I'm sorry Issei, big brother made me swear not to tell you about this until he could tell you himself. Issei smiled and pulled Riaz close to him. Don't be silly Riaz, it's to be expected from Surziches. Issei said, making Surziches chime in again. Geez Issei-kun, how many times have I told you to call me big brother? After all, you are going to be Riaz's husband in the future. Surziches said, making Riaz blush and smile. Surziches, how about we get to the real reason you summoned us here? Issei said, disrupting the relaxed atmosphere. Of course. Please all of you sit down. Everyone complied and took a seat as the meeting finally went underway. Our outside team has informed us that Volley's team is on the move in the underworld. Surzicha said, making everyone alert. Do you know what he is after? Riaz asked, taking on her role as leader. We're not sure. All we know is that he was spotted with a holy sword user, the staff user you already encountered, Biku, and a woman with long black hair with the power of a Nekomata. Surzicha said, making Kaneko clench her fists and slightly shiver. Until we are sure of their objective, we ask that you return to the Gremory Castle and be prepared for them to show themselves again. Surzicha said, in which Riaz nodded. Big sister Kuroka. Kaneko mumbled to herself as she attempted to hide her anxiety. Meanwhile, a suspicious individual makes their way towards the Gremories and their meeting hall. What are we doing here exactly, Kuroka? Isn't it obvious? I'm here to collect my little sister. It's been so long since I've seen her, and I can personally vouch for her traits to be useful for our cause. Whatever, I just want to fight against the Securite. So when do we strike? Biku asked, getting excited. We wait until nightfall. Then we will make our move. Wait for me, Shirin. Kuroka said as she retreated back into the woods after gazing at the building her little sister was currently inside. This is the end of the video. If you enjoyed the story, then hit the like button and comment your favorite part, but for now, see you all in the next video.